Good morning. This is officially Friday the 8th, and we have a hurricane that's still out in the middle of the Gulf. Check out the National Weather Service Tropical Tidbits, because this November is going to be very, very troubling. Even though this is still a week out from now, there's a very disturbing factor that there are going to be three tropical disturbances brewing out in the Gulf, and there could be something coming very close. And I don't mean that because I spread fear. I talk about facts. It's not about spreading worry and concern. This is the fact that Miami, anywhere in the southern Gulf, could be facing a severe, close, near hit or direct, just enough sideswipe from a future tropical depression. In light to everything that's going on in the news and what I've been talking about in my climate talk about the climate of the political atmosphere and everything going on, let's not forget that America spoke. It's we the people who had the voice to say it. And no matter what else is out there, no matter the fact if people want to talk about the fact of losing or winning, that's not what this is about. It's the fact that America's voices spoke. People on the Trump side will say that they won. They can rub that in Kamala Harris supporters' faces. I'm a Kamala Harris supporter, and I'm in actual support of one thing. One thing. You, the American people, spoke, and I can face the fact Kamala lost. Fine. The responsibility now falls on Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, his entire cabinet team, and the Republican Party. That now is not considered what we would refer to as a red wave, as let's go back and think about this. Republicans in the past have always stopped Democrats as well as Democrats have stopped Republicans. It's been a do nothing, get nothing done, government shutdowns, and too many of them happened underneath the Donald Trump administration, and that was unnecessary. We need a government that functions for us. Now we get to see, on Trump's behalf, will he get the job done? And I am holding him accountable. I am holding the expectation, apart from the fact that nothing is normal in this day and age. Hasn't been normal since 2016. It wasn't normal since things, even going back, even after 9/11 and the attacks on our country. But things have only escalated even further. With rifts of division and hate and the white nationalism, anti-Semitism, or Semitism, or any of which even consists to this hate group talk, political backfiring, who's afraid to post what they want and say what they want. Remember, you have the freedom of speech. Do it with the integrity of respect for your fellow neighbor and your fellow American and for human life and human decency. Do not spread hate and fear-mongering and incite violence. That is not what this country was founded on. Sure, we have a lot of history bloodied by war and tragedy, and there's too much of it. We're not living in the past. We're living here today in the present. Our children are watching, our kids, our families, our seniors, our veterans. Don't forget the veterans who fought and worked to devote their lives, to give their lives, to sacrifice everything they had, to go in and serve in the classic title of where young men serve the battle of the old men who put them into conflicts and war and send them out to fight the wars. It's always the old men who essentially pull the strings and push the young men to go do the war and the conflict. Remember, there's a war and a conflict and a battle to be fought every day with the factor of truth and decency to uphold peace and integrity for our children and our present day generations today. Donald Trump's administration, it was part of the speech that he did at 2:00 in the morning. He said he's fighting for the kids, but don't forget something. Donald Trump has always been about America first. I don't know if the kids were his top concern. He's got a lot of stuff to be worried about. Yeah, it's people in my neighborhood. That's what they do. It's typical. That's not the climate of Trumpism. No, that's just how people drive. Anyway, the point is, I'm sure you guys got people in your neighborhood who drive like an idiot through the neighborhood and zip corners. You got to remember your kids live out there too. So that's a problem we have to face. And that would have happened underneath a Kamala administration no differently than a Trump administration. And I don't know if people ever stop and think about how they drive in a neighborhood, blowing through stop signs and whatnot. But getting back to the matter at hand, remember something. The Republican Party has absolute control in the Senate. Going back to Biden's administration, they lost that when Biden came in with a sweep. And it wasn't even what I would call a blue wave. The Senate has always had a strong majority of Republican leadership. And if you go back and think about what that means for our country, look back and reflect on the rulings and the people who are up there right now and the choices that they've made, whether they're old or new. And think about the reality that so far, where have we really achieved any phenomenal or predominant success in a functioning government that's serving the American people? I'm not saying that we need to question, challenge, overthrow, spread the indication that I'm inciting that we have a non-functioning government. But the swamp that was so eloquently detailed as Trump's exposure, Trump's responsibility, the swamp of what, draining the swamp, that old reference, okay? There is nothing to drain. You know what the problem is? It's the fact that in this democracy that many people hold on to that very fragile term, it is an ideology, a belief, a faith. Whether it is the true principle, as I've just learned from a video where it's not actually a democracy, it's an aristocrat controlled, and the moment people start to realize that, it's going to be anarchy in the streets, it's going to be chaos, it's going to be revolts, there's going to be conflicts, there's going to be uprising. You know what the funny thing is? That video was educational enough, but let's remember something. This country was founded on the Republic. It's a republic, it's a federal republic democracy, so therefore a federal republic, federal, those two terms still hold true to our country and our Constitution and our founding principles. Regardless if democratic on the end of that would be republic, federal, or federal democratic republic, regardless, whether it's just simply gigantic flying ants. I'm watching one on my windowsill. It's huge. Oh, see this? This is disturbing. Check this out. Look at the size of that. Oh my gosh. It's like some kind of nightmare. Okay. Anyway. I'm looking at that a lot closer than you guys. Anyway. The point is, look at the reality. Now that Republicans have control in the Senate, and they lost it in 2020. They had it before. And what was honestly getting done in our government? Ask yourself that question. What was getting done? You're going to blame the Democrats because they didn't get anything pushed through, or they fought and they haggled and nothing got done? Okay, let's just set aside the fact that Democrats, Republicans, neither party is getting things done for our country. Now it's going to be on the Republicans. Remember that. And hold that to a higher standard. It's going to be on Trump, the Republican Senate, and possibly the House, since right now things are looking like the House is still up in disarray. We're not quite yet decided. I'm going to show you a full-blown tidbit of concern for another reality. Donald Trump was nearly assassinated from a failed young shooter who did a stupid and despicable act in our American history. That day was just as dark, no different than the darkest moments of other actions of inhuman, unfathomable, deplorable. You want to use the term deplorable, as Hillary Clinton had the indecency to even say that against Trump supporters. Let's just set aside Hillary Clinton's name and all the stuff in the past once again. Let's talk about the foundation of principles that matter in this, again, federal republic and democracy, democratic system. Yes, that is of the people. We, the people. We uphold the value of that meeting, regardless whether it's true or not, or who's pulling the strings, or all the rich people, all the elites, everybody out there. You know what? Let them play their game. Let them play with their strings. Let's keep a peaceful term here. Even if we, the people, united in this great United States of America, don't truly live in a democracy, even if that's not true, who cares? Who honestly cares? We're holding together in this great nation on the founding principles of what defines a democracy, a peaceful, civil, United States of America, united. That's the term in the definition of the exact meaning of the name United States of America. We uphold that every day. Apart from all the mass shootings, the killings, the atrocities we're seeing in the news, horrific stories of parents killing their kids, kids killing their parents, kids and generations today, we're getting sick and tired of seeing our country in disarray with all this mental health, this pain, this agony, this ongoing problem and onslaught, and it's only going to continue until somebody steps up. Do you think Trump's going to be the only one to step up to the plate and address this? He's got a lot of stuff on his plate, and he's got his own problems to contend with, effective of his own repercussions from a lot of the things he's done. And the Trump supporters and those who are on his side, they need to reconcile with that fact. Kamala Harris and the Democrats at this point, they are not off the table completely, but it's proven and effective that the Democrats have effectively made a terrible mistake. And let me tell you something. I learned something from The Nation, which I subscribe to, that Kamala Harris's biggest weakness was she followed good old Hillary Clinton's projected status to focus in on the forever Trumpers or the never Trumpers. I think it was more specifically the never Trumpers, people who would never vote for Trump. She focused too much on them, and she forgot about the undereducated the non-educated college people in this great United States of America, those focus groups. And that's why she primarily lost. She focused on primarily targeting, going after and focusing on people who were not college educated. You know what? There's nothing wrong with people who are not college educated. I'm not college educated, and I'm not bipolarly twisted and, emotionally unattached to the point where to say that I'm so far this or so far that on either side of right or left. I've always been proud to say, apart from the fact that I've leaned more so to vote for Democrats in the past, I'm becoming more open to the ideals that on that ideology that we truly aren't. We're living in a true democracy, and the only ideology and the truth and belief of what we fight for every day based on our history and our nation and the core belief, we have a positive message here that we, the people, did effectively put our voices there. We, the people, did say we want Donald Trump. Even if I was not a part of that majority, I am with everybody in that majority now, because I'm not going to turn around and say, that's not my president. When Donald Trump won in 2016, I conceded that he was my president, even though I voted for old crooked Hillary. She was crooked. She's out of the game now. She's been gone. There's no reason to bash hate and go back on past stuff. Trump was absolutely right. We need to come together. Even if it is not the coming together that everybody imagines, it's the coming together that America needs in this moment. And we need to hold that accountability for our kids and our children and our generations and everybody together watching this happen. Remember something. We are still the people. We still hold that control. And what we do with it, that is our responsibility. Not like the old phrase from Uncle Ben in Spider-Man movies, with great power comes great responsibility. Okay, we the people, the United States Americans, we still hold something over top of those oligarchs playing with the strings, even if we don't live in a true democracy, and they're controlling the ideology, fear that every time we think somebody wins the popular vote, every time somebody gets the electoral college, who gets this, who gets that, you can dig it into it. You can do your own research. It's already been shown in one previous video I watched that it doesn't matter if somebody gets all the popular vote, they can still win if they get the electoral vote, which proves our votes, they aren't even going to count. They don't matter. Well, guess what? Yes, they still do matter, because that is the powerful dialogue, centrist focus of something that is core true to American principles, to the core of what we do with our voices, and to the most important values of all. And that's to our families, to our nation, to our history, and time again through elected presidents going back and forth, and now we swapped it back and forth. We are now looking at a true, not red wave, true regain control Republican Party. The chance that the Lincoln Party, the elephant, maybe they can reborn, I should say, maybe it can be reborn to uphold to a new Republican Party. And that's something to think on. A new foundation, not just Trump's, but America's Republican Party, rebuilt. Maybe there's a chance for the Republican Party to come back, because remember, and everyone's going to bash this on Democrats, but I already looked into this. The Democrats did not. Okay, I've seen this. And if you guys have seen this, check it out. The Democrats did not actually found the KKK. There's been talk that there was one guy, John B. Kennedy. John B. Kennedy. He founded the KKK, and he was a part of the Democratic Party. And the whole principle behind the KKK was really to entice and fear African-American voters against voting for the Republicans. It's interesting when you go back to founding history and you learn from history, the Republicans were always against and or not on the side of slavery. They didn't outspokenly, completely get too involved with it, but they definitely did not approve of the Democratic states. And if you look back at your Democratic states, many of you who live in the South, you guys were a part of a democratic, slavery-owned, proud history. But guess what? We're not in the past. We're talking about today. And who's doing what? The Republicans are not walking back and talking against rhetoric enough. There's not enough in the party. Even the new people. Okay, that's the more despicable factor. The new people. We need to hold them accountable. They're not talking out against realities that we are facing today. Economic hardships, the climate, the impacts, the top elite who control much of our children's future and their chances to get out and get past a working job, working in retail or fast food. Just because somebody can't go do something college educated doesn't mean they're not educatedly worthy to provide something for us in our society. There are a lot of people out there with their brains, their minds, young minds going to waste. And that's not about this whole talk like with Trump speaking about we're living in a third world, we're living in a ravaged, destructed, ruined America. No. The reality is, the real core heart of the message behind his words, there is a hidden truth there. There is a core reality that there's a big problem with opioids, drugs, gun violence, mental health. And we, the people, we need to get united behind Donald Trump. Even if you're not on Donald Trump's side, you need to get behind the reality of holding to the accountability as we, the people, holding to the upholding factors of our principles behind our federal and Repulbic, that there is a democracy we the people need to uphold and stay true to every day to hold our leaders accountable. And that's where the principle of rebuilding and healing our nation starts with. I want to thank you for watching Mcluvin News. That's my important message today. There's a lot of stuff to dig out in my segment and what I mentioned and everything else included, but trust me, that's the important message. Mcluvin News signing out. And one other message, Donald Trump did take too many attempts of assassinations on his life. I empathize with him, regardless of his past and everything he's done. If he doesn't address the importance of mentally unwell people getting their hands on assault rifles, people who are repeat offenders, female abusers, domestic, boyfriend abuse to the female, and that kind of, that kind of dangerous mental male rhetoric, or even female abusers that abuse their male partners. If he doesn't address the red flag law, the principles that the NRA will scream is, they're just going to take my gun. They're going to take your guns away. No, they're not. It hasn't happened now, and it hasn't happened in other states. The only states that do that is like New York and California. They restrict the control because those are centralized to a metropolis that's been around for a long time, and they've been getting away with it in their own states. That's not all of America. The majority of America, the whole principle of that, again, federal and the republic that we stand by and the democratic fundamentals that we uphold, even if it is not what really controls us, it is the heart and the pride of what makes us all America. And the truth behind that is, regardless of who's pulling the strings, once again, Donald Trump took way too many close, near attempts on his life. If he does not do something to make a strong stance, we need to hold him accountable, because he should be the one who should be at least focused on this issue. The gun violence, the killing of our innocent kids, the violence against our children, the violence against everyday Americans, he needs to put a strong rhetoric to that, and in a peaceful resolve, not some authoritarian or dictator type resolve to it, to bring some peace, to show some love, some support, some empathy, because he certainly hasn't always been around a lot of empathy, and he wasn't raised around a lot of empathy. Clearly, he got $1 million handout as a young boy, and he grew up, and, look at where he is today. So it's not our place to judge him on the past. It's our place to judge him now on the future and what the Republican Party and what he's going to be doing going forward. And that's my positive message for today. Thanks for watching. Again, Mcluvin News, signing out. Thank you. And have a great rest of your day. And let's remain hopeful and positive. And everybody stay safe, keep tuned, and check out the National Hurricane on Tropical Tidbits to watch out what's going on. I'm going to show you guys a quick, short preview of that coming up shortly. Thank you.